It's usually just basketball in 49 other states, but what's it going to be for Indiana this year? Welcome in or welcome back. The Indiana Pacers had probably one of the most improbable runs in at least recent memory. They were fun as hell all year long, and I really don't think anybody expected them to make the NBA Finals. And had Tyrese Halliburton's injury not happened, we're probably talking about them potentially making it right back to the NBA Finals. But now, it's a little harder to say. I don't want to be too gloomy to start this, so let's start with some positives and let's talk about their draft this offseason. No first rounders, a couple second rounders though. At number 38, you picked up Cam Jones, and at number 54, you picked up Talon Peter. And I know how the league feels about older players, so part of me understands, but how does a guy who averages 19, 5, and 5 with a steal a game slip this far into the draft? The number 38 pick originally belonged to San Antonio, and honestly, I don't think that the Pacers could be more thankful. And listen, I don't think that Cam Jones is going to be a superstar in this league. I don't even think he's going to be an all-star, but I think he is one hell of a basketball player. The way that he commands the floor and keeps everything steady for an offense needs to be admired. And presumably, with Andrew Nembhard taking that starting point guard spot, I think that Cam Jones is going to have a lot of opportunities to prove that he is a real basketball player as a backup. Again, I don't think that he's going to be a superstar or even an all-star, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he ended up having a 13-year career. Talon Peter recently inked a two-way deal with the Pacers, so I don't think that he is going to get a ton of burn in the league, but I definitely understand why they drafted him. And if he gets some burn in the league, I think he's got solid role player written all over him. He's an older player as well, so theoretically he is ready to contribute right now. And if we're looking at his stats last year at Liberty, he just might. He's just one of those players that knows his role and sticks to it. Last year at Liberty, he was a perennial bench player and averaged 14 points a game. Very respectable numbers, but I think the reason that he'll end up being a really solid role player is because he shot 45% from three on like 5 attempts a game. One thing that this league will never run out of is people who can shoot the long ball, and that's how I think he can make his mark. The Pacers did have 2 re-signings in Isaiah Jackson and James Wiseman, and had a certain departure that we'll get to in a second not happen, this would probably be a pretty short section of the video. But now that a 10-year veteran and staple of the team has left, these two seem kind of important now. And unfortunately for them and the Pacers and its fans, they're both overcoming some injuries right now. Isaiah Jackson tore his Achilles in November, and James Wiseman is recovering from an ACL injury. Once they do come back healthy, I am very hopeful that they are able to run up and down and play this very fast-paced offense like the Pacers want to play. I am skeptical, but I'm hopeful. The Pacers had one addition in Jay Huff, and depending on who you ask, it's probably a mixed bag. Me personally, I think that Jay Huff potentially had the loudest 6.9 points per game in NBA history. Because if you asked anybody outside of Memphis, I think that they would tell you that the Pacers just got a steal at the center position. But if you asked any of the Memphis Grizzlies fans, they would tell you that he is a serviceable backup center that has some flashy moments. And even though he has some incredible highlight plays, especially dunks, I think his most important skill is going to be his long-distance shooting. Last year, he shot 40% from 3 on about 3 attempts a game. And the way that this team is currently constructed, I would expect those numbers to go up, but I wouldn't expect anything crazy from him this year. 6 to 8 points a game is probably his cap. And if you get any more than that, I think you need to call it a win. I will say that because of the injury situation on this team, there is a chance that his stats, especially in the early portion of the season, will be inflated. But I do think that once everybody is healthy, the best that you're going to get, the way that you can maximize him on this roster, is him being a very vital backup center role. Now let's talk about some of those departures that we've been dancing around. We've got Thomas Bryant and Miles Turner. Thomas was a really solid bench guy for this team last year, and there were even times where the 2-man game between him and Tyrese Halliburton was up there with some of my favorite connections in the league. And I also thought that because of the departure of Miles Turner and the fact that the other 2 centers on this roster are injured, that this would have been a perfect opportunity to see what he could look like as a starting center. But he decided to go chase a ring in Cleveland, and you know what? I don't blame him. Because this team is at its best with Halliburton at the helm, and we're not going to see that until the 26-27 season. Now, seeing Miles Turner in a Bucks uniform is going to take some getting used to. I had always kind of assumed that he was going to be this lifer in Indiana, but at the Bucks Media Day, he said that he wanted to be somewhere where he felt wanted. And I know that that could sound like a shot directly at the fans, but honestly, I think it's a shot at the front office because they never wanted to pay him for his loyalty, and he was in a trade rumor every other day. But this departure really couldn't have come at a worse time. The entire team is injured. The Pacers don't really have a real center, and Miles just came off of a career year averaging 15 and 6 with 3 stocks a game, while shooting a career high in three-point percentage and attempts. I would have been really interested to see the two-man game between him and Pascal Siakam this year, but I guess it just wasn't meant to be. This Pacer team certainly won't be the same Pacers team that we saw last year, but I think they could still be pretty fun to watch. The Celtics aren't going to be the same. We don't know what Philly's going to look like, and even with the Miles Turner addition, this Bucks team is still very flawed. I think that there are only 5 teams that are clearly better than the Pacers are this year, so there's a real possibility that at the end of the year, we're talking about this team being close to a home court advantage team in the playoffs. I'm also expecting some pretty big years from the role players. If Benedict Mathurin isn't in 6 Man of the Year conversations, I would be shocked. And if Andrew Nembhard isn't in the conversation for most improved player, I think that we have drastically overestimated who he is as a player. As it stands right now, this team is going to go as far as Pascal Siakam allows them to, and because of this depleted East, I think that could be pretty far. Now, I wouldn't put any money on them making it to the Eastern Conference Finals or anything like that, but I really wouldn't be surprised if they made it to the second round. Because ultimately, you're just trying to hold things together until Tyrese Halliburton can come back, and then the real fun starts. What do you think the Pacers are going to do this year? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're down there, check my description. I got a link tree with all of my socials: Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok. I am everywhere. And I even have a Discord community that I would love for you to be a part of. But that's going to do it for me today. Be on the lookout for your favorite team in this series. Be kind. Tell somebody you love them. And I'll see you in the next one.
Barely scraping by. Trying to stop puffing. I'm trying to be one of the greats.